Hello, I'm Isabella Santoyani with Burnaby SC TV, and alongside me are technical directors Kevin Julian and Lee Triboni. We are here today to answer several questions that are continuing to arise regarding the formation of Burnaby FC. For many parents, practice days and times are important to know prior to registering their child due to their busy schedules. When will parents be able to know where and when their child will practice?
Well, I can completely appreciate parents that define family schedules. At the club, we're working closely with the city to get field contracts and why. As soon as we do get those field contracts lined up, we'll have the practice dates and times and locations confirmed and sent out. So for some younger age group, the U6 to U7s, we'll have that up in the next day or two, hopefully. But for the other age groups, we are at the I won't say mercy of the city, but we're just working with them to get them finalized.
Okay, that's great. The new Burnaby FC kit is going to draw the attention of everyone at the field. However, what happens if my kit doesn't fit properly?
If you get it fit properly, then you can reach out to the club and we'll have like an exchange process accessible by other sites.
Okay. And what happens if I lose my jersey?
If you do lose your jersey, then you'll be able to purchase a new one by reaching out to the club.
Perfect. Now, regarding players competing in the BCSPL, what can they register?
So the BCSPL, we have two phases. It's January until the end of June, phase 1. And phase 2 is the middle of August until the end of November. So our reevaluation season is 2 weeks after the last weekend in November. We finalize our rosters by the middle of December and then register in the January of every year.
Okay. And in terms of kit for training players, what should they suggest?
So all our kits are in PDF form on the website for each level, each age, etc. So basically the training player will receive everything that's on that PDF apart from day-to-day jerseys.
Okay. Now, goalkeepers are a unique position and require specific training. When and where will goalkeeper training be held, and will it be co-ed?
So we are almost at the finalization portion of the goalkeeping program. We're not quite there yet. So I'm hoping to have that information up and running in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. When should players expect to hear from their coaches regarding the start of the season?
Players can expect to hear from their coaches no later than late August. In some cases, players and parents will be notified sooner, but certainly no later than late August. And for the younger age group, for U6 to U10s, they'll actually be meeting their coaches and their teammates at the kick-off the season event on September night. But yeah, no later than late August.
Okay, perfect. Many players go to school together. How can they request to play on the same team as their friends or carpool partner or even a specific coach?
They can make those requests when they do register, and there was a section on the registration page to make those requests, be it, as you said, a teammate or a coach. But if you haven't done it that way, then there's a second way you can make those requests, and that's contacting the club directly via info@thevfc.com.
Perfect. If parents think that their child has been placed into the wrong division, what are the steps to change this?
Well, at Burnaby FC, we've got complete freedom of movement with players, so players aren't locked in to a roster and necessarily what we'll do is if a player is, for example, excelling at a particular division and they need to be moved up, and that's something that we can do on a week-to-week basis, or we're going to put them for the rest of the season. And it goes both ways. Like if there was a player that we had playing at a particular higher level and things were working out from that player, but and it was in their best interest to maybe drop down for a week or two or for the rest of the season, well, we can make that happen as well. But the most important thing to recognise is that things aren't set in stone. Like we do have flexibility to make those changes for those players.
Most definitely. Now, some teams may be moved to a different division and think they should be placed into a higher one. What can they do to fix this?
Well, if they should be not moved into higher level, then what will happen is that when the season starts and they're playing games after a few weeks, the league will work with myself and Lee to get them put into a more competitive division. And that happens around Thanksgiving. Okay, so I guess at the end of the day, that the team has got to demonstrate that they should be at a higher level, and then, like I said, that the league and myself will make it happen.
Okay. And how many players are on each team for U8 T10?
Well, we've got a few players on each roster to ensure that we can play 2 games simultaneously at those younger age groups. So we plan to have approximately 16 players on a team, because what we'll do is, again, like, we'll have half the team on one field and half the team on the other field, and our goal really is to have as much playing time as possible for teams. So we don't want to have large benches where there's lots and lots of substitutes, because again, kids have more fun playing, and then coaches don't have to worry about managing a large bench.
Right. And why are there more Division 3 teams than Division 2 and 1 at U11 to U13?
Well, to a certain degree, we're remanded by BC Soccer to have, select levels, which is, Divisions 1s and 2s. But the majority of an age group will be Division 3. And so, and on the same majority, we're talking, 60-70% of an age group would be Division 3. So, there's players that they can be very well being very strong Division 3 players, and that is probably something that's place for them. But going back to a previous question, like, is there a chance for them to move up? Absolutely. And so that's all for me there.
Awesome. And what would cause practices or betas to be cancelled, and how will I be notified they are cancelled?
So, living in BC, obviously the weather is usually the main issue. The abnormal snow that arrives in the middle of April, or the hail and everything else we get in one day sometimes. That's usually the main cause for, cancellations. Then we have holidays, monthly different holidays that occur. So Monday sessions usually, or some Friday sessions are cancelled because of the holidays. But long weekends, game days could be cancelled. But we are working with the city right now, because we really need to know sooner if field recourse, so we can really get it out to, the players and parents earlier, instead of, 5-10 minutes before practice times, game days. But the city are working with us and promising us that it can be improved in the future. So we can notify all teams, players and parents by TeamSnap.
Okay, that sounds great. Are there washing protocols in place for our players during practice events?
For the younger age groups, there's always a protocol of, obviously, you wouldn't leave a younger player who 5 foot to leave the field by themselves to go to a washroom. But most fields have washrooms. We use, the local recreational grounds, so most are in eyesight, or a recreational centre is right there to go and use them. If a parent isn't around, then we'd have a coach, have take the younger players to the washrooms. But most of our facilities have washrooms available. Obviously, you run extra programming like summer camps and spring camps, and we'll have volunteer coaches available to make sure the little ones get to the washroom safely.
Good to hear. And Kevin, how compares volunteering to become a coach?
Well, with the registration, there's a place where you can take to say, look, and be a volunteer coach. Alternatively, you can reach out to me directly at kjulian@betterbfc.com, and I will help you with the process of getting certifications and all the other requirements that are required. Your CRC. First step will just contact me. We'll figure next stuff via that.
Sounds good. What happens if a family is unable to afford the fees for the child to play at the club?
For BFC, we are, fully committed to make sure every player takes part, regardless of their financial situation. And on our website, we have lots of resources under the program section, which will assist families in, getting some financial help. But anytime there's any issues, they feel free to reach out to myself or Kevin via our emails on our websites, and we can support it every way possible.
Okay. And what is the difference between Division 1A and Division 1B?
Okay, so Division 1A is basically the highest level of soccer, especially up until U13. It's a more costly program. That's the biggest factor. Again, all prices are on our website, so just be about our website and all the information is there. So 1A is a paid coach. It's a different uniform to 1B. There's different levels in leagues, of course. 1A is the top level, 1B next one down, 2A and 2B. So all this information is available on our website. But that's the main differences in those leagues.
Hey, good to know. Will my team from last year stay together?
For the most part, yeah. So those teams for founding clubs, we'll try to keep that intact. Where there's going to be some movement, obviously, not everyone comes back, and there's space on teams that need to be filled, so that team does have enough players to be competitive about upcoming season. And again, there will have been some players that have identified over the course of the previous season to either move up or move down. But for all intents and purposes, the vast majority of the teams are sticking to it for the Spurs near BFC.
And Lee, what is the Development Center?
So the Development Center is a program which is guided by BC Soccer and CSA. It's an extra development program at the club, which allows players from teams to sign up for, and it's an added extra to the stuff. It's also coached by national certified coaches, both youth license holders and children's license holders. Yes, we do have some younger development coaches working in there as well, but the majority is national trained. And yeah, it's more focused on the individual learning of a player instead of, in the team environment. It's very difficult to narrow in on everyone's individual progress. It's more team oriented, where the Development Center is individual focused.
Okay, and do I have to be on a team to sign up in Development Center?
No, you do not. You can sign up for it even if you don't even play at the club.
Okay. Lee, Kevin, thank you so much for your time and helping me answer these pressing questions.
That was it.
For Burnaby FC TV, I'm Isabella Santoyani. Good night.